I turned my spring peonies into this wreath that will last all year long. Hi, I'm Lisa, and if you love gardening but wish your favorite flowers lasted longer than a week, you're in the right place. So I'm here with my peonies, and they're from the garden. I dried them last spring. We did a video on drying them a couple different ways, but I saved a few for a special project which we're going to be creating today. So today we're going to be creating a wreath, and we're going to be mixing our dried peonies, some other dried flowers, as well as some faux or artificial flowers. Fresh peonies are fleeting, and while dried flowers are beautiful, they can sometimes feel a little bit delicate on their own. Faux flowers can be incredibly useful, but only if they're used thoughtfully. So the secret is mixing the textures, real, dried, and faux, and nothing feels flat or artificial. Okay, so let's go through our materials. So first of all, you need a grapevine wreath ring. So I have two options here. Now I want to use the grapevine because I want it to look natural and organic, but there's lots of other wreath rings that you could use. Think about where you're going to be placing this because then you can choose the size. So I have this big wall here, so I'm going to use this 24-inch ring. But this is a really pretty natural ring with some moss on it, and it is 12 inches. So if you're putting this on your front door, this is a better size. Next, we have our dried peonies from our spring garden last year. We have some other dried pods, statice, some other flowers, and some treasures from nature that we may or may not use. And then we have our artificial flowers. And then you're going to need some kind of wire. So we either will use this floral wire here or this wrapped wire. And again, I will put things up in the description, some links in case you're interested in them. And then just some extras here. I have some raffia. Again, I'm looking for some natural looking material. If you have some grasses that you've dried, that's also wonderful. And if you have a wreath ring that you need to cover, you want to make it look a little more textured, you can cover your wreath ring by using a glue gun with some Spanish moss. So I just wanted to give you some options here. Okay, we're going to start wrapping our stems, and my hot tip is you want to use the less delicate flowers first, or your fillers. So I'm going to start with my artificial flowers, and I'm just going to lay them out. So another tip here is you want to buy high quality artificial flowers. So things that look real, and because they've been stacked on some shelves, you just want to kind of fluff them a little bit. So I'm just going to pull them apart. You can also clip your stems up into shorter stems and space them out a little more depending on the look you're going for and how much you have. The key to making this look natural is to let some of the grapevine show through. And I'm just tying the wire off in the back just to secure it so I can start wrapping. I love how beautifully this twine wrapped wire blends in, so it's got a nice rustic look. Okay, now we have our artificial flowers secured on. And next we're going to do a little more filler. So I really like how this status looks with the peonies. And you can go ahead and pull it apart depending on the size bunches you want to use. But for now, I'm just going to weave it in a little bit. If you have your glue gun out, you can just hit the tips and just push them in the grapevine wreath. But I'm just weaving it in, and then later on if I need to, I can go and wrap it with my wire. I can cut some strips and just tighten the bunches up a little bit. I love the raffia and how natural it looks. And here's where you would also use some grasses if you have that available to you. So what I'm going to do is just to make some loops. And so I'm just going to be cutting this up a little bit. Scissors here. And you can either use some twine, or if you've got your little roll of wire handy. So I'm just going to make some strips, so about 10 or 12 inches. Make some little bunches. So basically like this. Now don't worry if it isn't perfect. It's actually not supposed to be perfect because it's supposed to look natural. And at the end we can move things around a little bit and shift them, or we can also cut this up and make it look a little more wild if we'd like. I'm just going around the back and I'm going to twist it off. Okay, notice as well that I am working in some different directions because I am going to leave a little section exposed here. And I haven't cut the big roll of wire yet because I'm not sure if I'm done with that at this point. So we're just going to leave that attached. Now this is where the magic happens. So these are our peony flowers. They're dried and they are the star of the show. So I like to place these around the wreath in odd numbers and odd numbers of bunches because that asymmetry is more organic as it would be in nature. So because these are a little fragile, we are doing these last. And I want to get some of the dark pink peonies in the mix. Make sure that we use some of those. Okay, so you can always just kind of place them around before you tie them on, just to see how they work. So actually, let me get my pruners out. And we're going to be hiding the stems a little bit. I also love how they're dried in some different stages. So we have some buds here. as well. Okay, so we're wrapping it up, and I do want to mention that you want to leave some negative space here. So you don't want it overly full. You want to let your grapevine wreath show through a little bit and have it look very natural. Now, when you're combining your artificial flowers and your dried flowers, you want to place them next to each other because your eye blends them together. So the artificial flowers give them a nice fullness, and the dried flowers give it a little bit of authenticity. Okay, so here's the finished product, and I'm loving how it turned out. It is soft, seasonal, and timeless, and it reminds me of spring all year round. So I have my bow ready here, and I'm also loving how this looks. So I think we could do it without or with, but I'm gonna add it in here, and we'll see how it looks. And that's it. That's how I'm gonna have peonies all year round. So thank you so much for joining me today. I do appreciate all of you at home. And if you liked our video, go ahead and give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel because we have a lot more gardening coming your way.